Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about the cell membrane. By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to cover the following learning targets. Now, we've already discussed several different organelles with very specialized structures and functions inside the cell. Today, we are going to be focusing on one of these organelles, which is the cell membrane. As you can see in the picture, you notice that the cell membrane is a very flexible and fluid organelle, and it also is composed of many different parts. We also know that the cell membrane kind of provides a boundary between the outside and the inside of the cell. And this type of barrier allows things to move in and out, and it selects what is able to move in and what is able to move out. For these reasons, we usually refer to the cell membrane as a fluid mosaic, and that is the model that scientists use to describe the cell membrane. If you don't know what a mosaic is, a mosaic looks something like this. It's an art piece that is made from very small parts that are put together to create this whole overall art piece. And the reason why we use the word mosaic to refer to the cell membrane is just like this art piece right here, the cell membrane is also made from multiple smaller parts. Now, the fluid mosaic model, like we said, is used by scientists to describe the way that the cell membrane looks like, or the cell membrane structure. The word fluid refers to the fact that the cell membrane is constantly moving, it's very flexible, it's not rigid, and it allows things to move in and out of the cell membrane freely. It also is made up of molecules that are able to move around the cell membrane freely. One specific molecule that makes up the cell membrane actually makes up the majority of the cell membrane is the phospholipid molecule. So all of these molecules here in white, these are all the phospholipid molecules, and these phospholipid molecules are actually very motile. I mean, they're constantly moving, they're not rigid, and they're very flexible. So that is where the fluid part of the name comes from. The mosaic part of the name refers to the fact that the cell membrane is not just made up of one type of molecule, it's made up of several different types of biomolecules, such as the phospholipids, or the lipids that we talked about, the proteins, and carbohydrates. So the mosaic part of this word refers to the fact that the cell membrane is made up of several different biomolecules. If we were to look at a picture of the cell membrane, here we have two of them. The surface view is shown on the left, and you'll notice right away that we have these phospholipids, which I told you about. And again, these phospholipids are specialized types of lipid molecules. And embedded inside these phospholipids, we have the protein, which is shown in blue, and this red molecule, which is actually a carbohydrate. The same image, if we look at it from a side view, you will notice that we have the phospholipids. And right away, what do you notice about the phospholipids? Notice how these phospholipids are not just found in one layer, but they're found in two layers. And for this reason, we refer to the phospholipids that make up the cell membrane as a phospholipid bilayer. The word bi means two, okay? So there are two layers, 1, 2 of these phospholipids that make up the cell membrane, and embedded or found within them, we have the protein and the carbohydrates. Now let's break down the cell membrane into its structure and its function. As we said, the structure of the cell membrane is composed of a phospholipid bilayer, and these phospholipids have a very specific shape to them that you need to be familiar with. They have a hydrophilic head, shown in green, and a hydrophobic tail, shown in brown. Now, what do these words mean? Let's break them down into their components. The word hydro means water, and the word philic means loving. So hydrophilic literally gets translated into water loving. So the head, or this part of the phospholipid, is polar. It likes water. It dissolves in water, just like water. And the tails are hydrophobic, which gets translated into water fearing. The word phobic, to have a phobia, is to be afraid of something, right? So hydrophobic means water fearing. So the tails shown in brown are hydrophobic. They don't like water. And if something cannot dissolve in water, we usually refer to it as non-polar. Okay, so non-polar means that it does not dissolve in water. Another thing that the cell membrane contains is these special kind of protein molecules known as the receptor molecules. Now, we don't really need to know too much about receptors, but what you need to know is that these molecules provide a way for cells to communicate with one another. And when cells send and receive signals, these signals attach themselves to these receptors, which are found on the surface of the cell membrane. And the last thing we want to say about the structure of the cell membrane, like I mentioned, is that it is a fluid, mosaic. Usually that is the shape or the model that scientists use to refer to the cell membrane. Let's now talk about the function. The main function of the cell membrane is that it provides a selective or a boundary between the inside and the outside of the cell. And it's not just any boundary. It's not like it's a wall that doesn't allow anything to go in and out. It's more like a gate, okay? It's like a gate, and you can only pass if you have the correct pass, basically, to enter and to leave. So selective permeability, or the word selectively permeable, means that substances that can come in and leave the cell membrane are controlled, okay, by the cell membrane. The cell membrane, in other words, controls what is able to come in and what is able to leave the cell. It is selectively permeable. So let's kind of think about what kind of materials, what kind of substances or molecules would a cell want to bring in? Well, obviously beneficial stuff, right? So it will bring in, or it will allow molecules that will help the cell maintain homeostasis. And if you don't remember what homeostasis is, all right, homeostasis is this idea that we are maintaining a balance, we are maintaining healthy environment within the cell. Okay, so therefore the cell is going to want to bring oxygen, it's going to want to allow water, nutrients such as glucose, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals to enter into the cell freely. And at the same time, the cell will expel or get rid of toxic, harmful substances that might affect homeostasis negatively, such as urea, which is found in urine, any toxins, carbon dioxide, and other forms of waste. So these types of molecules are not going to be allowed in. In fact, they're going to be expelled out of the cell. It will not allow things like bacteria and viruses and other parasites to enter into the cell, because obviously those are harmful substances. All right, so this is kind of reiterating what I just said. The phospholipid bilayer, or the cell membrane, only allows certain materials to enter and leave the cell. Now remember, since the cell membrane is mainly made out of phospholipids, in other words, it is a type of lipid, and we know that lipids are non-polar. This means that non-polar molecules, such as oxygen and carbon dioxide, are actually able to enter without any help. They just diffuse, they're able to dissolve through the lipid, because remember, like dissolves like, and if the cell membrane is non-polar, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, which are also non-polar, can just simply diffuse and enter and dissolve into the cell membrane. However, if a molecule is polar, which means that it is the opposite of what the cell membrane is, it will need a little bit extra help. So in order for non-polar substances or molecules, such as water, to enter into the cell, they can't just dissolve through the cell membrane, because because the cell membrane itself is non-polar. Instead, they will use something known as protein channels that look something like this. So if you take a look at this protein channel, which is embedded in the cell membrane, this protein channel will provide like a tunnel or a passageway for these polar substances to be able to move through the cell membrane, since they can't just dissolve in the cell membrane, since they are polar. So to summarize everything, substances that can move into the cell membrane are non-polar substances, and substances that the cell needs, such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, and small amounts of water. Although, like I said, water it needs a specialized protein to enter. And then substances that can't really move through on their own, they need help. They need the help of a protein channel, are ions, and then polar molecules in general.